want the best for everyone, every person in Bellingham. It is because I lost someone dear to me on the streets of Bellingham that I am here today. When someone doesn't have a support system to fall back on, they turn to their community. We cannot let diseased societal mindsets dictate our city directives. Mother Teresa once stated, one of the greatest diseases is to be nobody to anybody. People without shelter or homes are not nobody. They are somebody. Somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's child, somebody's friend. So I would like each of you to picture someone you love who is dear to you and imagine them living on the streets of Bellingham. I know as a mom that we cannot abandon our roles as leaders, guardians, and caretakers or sweep away what we don't want to see. Bellingham is home to all of us, but not all of us have homes. That is the challenge. How do we best serve our collective family? The city does not want to waste time or money on Band-Aid solutions or deploy counterproductive costly action or inaction. When we provide a space with adequate outreach and resources to facilitate a path for someone to stabilize their life, they can be productive. That is our city's highest calling and highest return on investment. So I am here to advocate for homes now, not later, and everyone who currently needs shelter. And I'm a 20-year resident of Bellingham. My sole reason for my application to this position is to address what I see as being the most imperative need of our city. It is evident to me that we are experiencing socioeconomic challenges that will continue to alter the health and well-being of our city and its residents if ignored and or neglected. The priority of the people is in our fiscal responsibility, guardianship, and public access to and preservation of our resources. Agencies of employment and concurrently the individuals that comprise of our labor force delegate much of this responsibility, and it is within the framework of this responsibility that we often recognize success and failure to meet our needs and standards of care. Within our community, we have an imbalance in equitable responsiveness to members whose lives have been altered or impacted by loss, lack, trauma, ill treatment, judgment from peers, and or legal persecution. The voice of these individuals is less likely to be heard and weigh in on the decision-making which directly or indirectly affects their lives and the lives of the entire city. It is my goal to ensure all voices are heard and recognized in this forum. As a city, in collaboration with the port and the county, our actions must be consistent with the demands of the people, and by demand I mean need and governance. Our most serious of priorities is how best to address poverty and systemic breakdown of community cohesiveness, which is more than visible. The rise in homelessness and lack of mental health care and rehabilitation avenues for those with chronic addiction or disability in need of long-term care is evident throughout our nation. Those who currently enjoy the comfort of financial stability are being categorically priced beyond their means to afford rent or property. Federal funding that has in the past offered a fail-safe for meeting basic needs are also being cut. Healthcare is difficult to attain, and capped assistance programs leave many city members in a state of being a paycheck away from poverty. It is with these factors in mind that I hope to continue my activism and volunteer work and civic duty no matter where my services are needed or employed. I am available to offer my skills as an executive administrative assistant and advocate for progressive reform for the best practices of this city. Thank you for hearing me out.
I am a disabled homeless student at Western, and I had a prepared statement ready to read to you all about what a good homeless person I've been, all the things that I've done right, all of the places I've asked for help. I even called, left a message with you, Mayor Linville. I have received no assistance. On Sunday night, I was freezing in my van. I called the Opportunity Council. I called the Mission. It was refused received no accommodation. Because of my disability, I'm not able to stay in a shelter environment. Western has offered me no assistance. I'm even registered as a disabled student with a resource center. They have offered me no help whatsoever. I've been trying to receive assistance since spring. I've been homeless for 6 months. I've received no help. So yes, there's a lot of misinformation going around. Homes Now, by fundraising through the community, has been the only organization that has offered me any assistance whatsoever.
And now I'm a volunteer with Homes Now. And I just want to say thank you to Homes Now and Showers Now for going out and saving people, going through the streets at night, all night long, making sure they have hot water bottles and blankets and rides to the shelters if they want them and if the shelter will take them. It's just amazing how many volunteers have stepped up from this community to help them. And it's amazing to me how the community is responding and being flexible and adding some more services and helping out. So I want to thank the city for that. But I also noticed that it's just not quite reaching it. It's just severe. And we weren't ready here. And we're still not ready. And there's still people out there about to not make it. And Homes Now and all the volunteers and all the teamwork, it's amazing because I'm on the internet with the messenger. So I know what's going on. And I hear so many people with amazing teamwork to save these people. And I just want to thank them all. And I think we need to organize the system here so that it's better, so that we're more ready for this kind of extreme severe weather and other emergencies. I don't think we even have a clue of what is really needed. I don't think we're planning ahead well enough.
I'm really exhausted. I've had about 6 hours sleep since last Sunday. Right now, there'd be more people here, but we have 3 outreach teams outside right now, driving around in their own vehicles, picking up people. We have 2 vans that we rented, 2 15-passenger vans we rented. They're taking people to the shelter we set up, and it took us a matter of 5 hours to have it set up and running. I just got word from the pastor at the church we're at. We're about 10 people from capacity. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how many times in the last year and 9 months I've said people will not go to the drop-in center. They would rather freeze to death. We need other options. I'm not saying shut the drop-in center down or it's bad or the mission's bad. I'm saying we need other options. We've tried. We've tried to get it through to you, but people won't go to the drop-in center. There's a group of people out there that just won't go. They'd rather freeze to death. And I feel like I'm just talking to the walls. Nobody's hearing it. It's great. Open up another place when the mission fills up. But we need something now for people that won't go to the mission. For reasons they've had all their stuff stolen. They've been beat up. They've been sexually harassed there. There's too much drug use, the bugs, whatever else. They won't go. I thank God that our supporters in our community have come together and have raised the money to do that. But I'll tell you right now, I've got 17 residents from Winter Haven in motels until Thursday. We don't have money for after Thursday. And I keep watching the weather forecast. I don't know what we're going to do, but I will reach out to our donors, and I'm sure they'll dig deeper in their pockets. But I'm begging, I'm pleading, open something up tonight. Whether the mission's full or not, we've got people out there. We've got 2 vans out there right now full of people that need someplace to go. They will not go to the drop-in center. I'll say it one more time. They will not go to the drop-in center. So I'm begging you, open something up. We've done our best. We found a church. We're hauling them all the way out to Smith Road, and we haul them back in the morning. And then we haul them back the next night, and we haul them back in the morning. We're doing this out of our pocket. So I'm just begging you, please hear me one more time. There are people that are going to die because they refuse to go to the drop-in center. Thank you.
I'm angry. I'm extraordinarily angry. Not only does something need to be done tonight, but the details about where this came from, why it wasn't handled after all of this time.
The citizens of Bellingham should not be the ones out here busting our butts, trying to save people. I thought that was a community effort. I thought that was part of, the city. But the people are doing it right now. It's the people that are doing it, and Homes Now members as well. But it's the people doing outreach because we have compassion, we have hearts. Half of us have been in this position. People haven't died because we're there, because we love them, because we're trying. This city needs to do more. We need more of an emergency plan in place where people go out and do what we're doing. Give blankets, give hot water bottles, do something. It is snowing and it is freezing. You're talking about a plan, but the plan is for in the future. What about tonight? We got 10 people left. That's it. What about the rest of them? This is emotional for me because I may have a house, but I haven't been in it for 8 days because there is an emergency out there. People are freezing. They're not dying because we're there. What if we stopped? What if we couldn't do it anymore? What is the city of Bellingham gonna do?
I've been out on the street every day for the last 10 days since the weather went bad on us. And even if there is space on the mission, people are choosing to be in 17-degree weather because they're not comfortable there. I've had stories from women that they've been raped there. They don't want to go there. There's a group of people that live behind the Leopold, under a tarp, behind a bunch of dumpster, small totes that they've created a little shelter with because it's next to a heat vent. And I've been bringing them baked potatoes and hand warmers and any wool blankets I can find. And they're very gracious to me, and they thank me. And that's all I can do for them. And I go home at night, and I just cry. These are human beings.
As far as I can see, Homes Now donated to finance at least 100 people in motels.
Homes Now, I messaged Amy because the heater in our van went out. I left Agape home because I did not get an extended stay in May of last year. I've been living in my van with my 2-year-old since. I've been to the Opportunity Council. I'm working with a worker there. I've been through 3 different workers in the time. They're lovely people, but they tell me that there's no help. To just keep applying to places, just keep applying. And then I'm told finally on Friday that in fact there's no voucher available for me if I do apply. So if I apply to a market rate rent apartment, I can't pay that. I can't. What am I supposed to do? Go and apply to a market rate apartment, they're gonna get me in, and then I get evicted? Do you know how much harder it is to get rented to when you've been evicted? I can't do that. Why would I do that? Why would I set myself up for failure? Oh, you're just gonna get a job that's gonna be able to pay everything. I'm allowed to work for 10 hours a week. I'm disabled. How am I gonna afford any market rate rent at 10 hours a week? Who's paying me $50 an hour? That's what it would take at 10 hours a week. I don't have the training for something like that. There aren't many jobs like that. Homes Now, I messaged them. I said, hey, the heater broke on my car. Can you fix it? And the next thing I knew, they set me and my family up in a motel. What's going on now isn't enough. And it's not enough to tell someone to just find a better job or just get more income. It's not possible always. And I'm tired of sitting on wait lists. I left domestic violence in 2015. I've been homeless since, effectively. I've been in a couple of shelters. I've been through DV SAS.
Time.
I've been through Agape. Nothing. I'm tired. I'm really tired. Thank you.
I wish to start by saying I'm not representing Homes Now. I'm representing me. I'm sorry. Concerned citizen and a volunteer for a tiny nonprofit. And it appears I'm also representing several people without homes who are too frustrated and traumatized to speak to you directly. If I blather a bit, it's because I'm angry, superficially, disappointed, and frustrated under the anger. I want to say that the concerns I'm expressing about the mission are not meant to shut it down. They're being said because of the lack of care being given to hundreds of people that have been passing through the mission doors during this emergency. They can't do it all. Jim said it. We've said it for 19 months. The mission has a mission. Wonderful, but the mission isn't for everyone, such as religious-based privileges and prayers. Good for some, but not for all. No running water, pipes frozen for days, no hand-washing stations, and Homes Now is banned from any mission property because we dare to speak to power and say, do something. Yes, I did call Miss Linville's home because Hans wasn't available or could not be reached when the mission had no more beds. Lie? Yes, you keep saying there's 30 to 60. Why are people there saying that there's none? I called and I said, wake up! Wake up! I did not swear, I was not threatening, I was demanding, and I continue to. The amount of people that are going through your place every day, 180 to 230 sleeping there, countless others, 6 porta potties, no washing stations. No adequate training for your volunteers to judge women's mental status for transport to Fountain Church. I'm not sure how many times the community needs to say it, but the mission is not for everyone. It just isn't. And that's why volunteers are risking their safety and lives to bring folks to a different church that is not preaching. Paidless, countless hours, time, money.
Motel vouchers from the Opportunity Council, I called, I asked about them. I was scoffed at. I need short-term emergency assistance so I don't freeze to death, which the organizations you all have put your faith in would be happy to see me do with no help. They know my situation. I've called and talked to them I don't know how many times. This is not okay. This is my experience, so if you want to say that there's misinformation going around, that no one's going to be turned away, well, that's not true. I was turned away. You need to offer emergency assistance in these extreme conditions, not just long-term assistance. You need to offer alternatives to the mission because people do not feel safe going there. I do not feel safe going there. For personal reasons, for safety reasons, it doesn't matter what the reasons are if people aren't going to go there and be sheltered. That's what's important. Enough with the politics. This is ridiculous. People are freezing out there. I'm freezing out there. And you guys need to do something about it. Offer better health assistance for the disabled, especially the mentally ill. If you look at the statistics on the Opportunity Council, the majority of the homeless who are disabled have a mental illness. We have no resources. There are a lot of simple solutions to this issue that you guys need to be looking into. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to point out that a lot of times violent behavior comes from mental illness or comes from trauma. And so to put barriers on shelters in that way, you're further marginalizing people. You're choosing to leave those people out, essentially allowing them to potentially die. So I think it's really, really important to think about where that fear comes from and to think about how we value life, especially when it's homeless folks who are coming for help. And I think that hearing like what Homes Now has done, they're out here saving lives, they're doing so much work. I truly don't know how you could look towards any other organization as the primary caretaker for this community. And I really hope that you choose to support them, and I hope that you do something today so that folks can not freeze to death. Thanks.
I feel like you have all had so many opportunities to prove yourselves here as leaders, as problem solvers, as an entity that embraces community, dialogue, and you have failed. We shouldn't be here having this discussion now in the middle of a crisis. We know winter comes every year. Is this the kind of infrastructure we have set up? I mean, this is really problematic. And you know, you've failed hugely. You've failed the homeless community hugely. You've failed the undocumented community hugely. It's just not good enough. You need to learn to put your differences aside with organizers that maybe, you know, they don't communicate with you the way that you want them to, or they're not polite. You need to be able to just bridge the gap, meet with impacted members of the community, meet with those organizers, and let's start fixing these problems. You know, every minute that you have here, you've got an opportunity to change the way we're interacting with each other. This shouldn't continue like this. It's just not, it has real ramifications for people who are out there on the streets. They're on a quest for their dignity, for their safety, for respect. And here we are. Can you hear the stress in their voices? I can hear people crying. It's just, it's bad. And, you know, now I'm going to shut up because I feel like we should just get out there and people need to get housed. And I hope you're going to help us do that tonight.
They're just trying to get our attention. Hey, there is a need for folks that are falling through the cracks. And they seem to be taking care of them right now. And I'm all for that. And you're saying we need volunteers. Put it out on our Facebook page if we need to. They're there. The community wants to help. We're a very giving, generous community. I'll donate financially if people need help. Let's say they can't volunteer the next day because they need to go buy groceries. I'll buy them a grocery gift card. I'll give you 100 of them if that makes a difference, $150 gift cards. The community is there. The community will answer this call. If there are people out there freezing to death, this community will take care of them. Just ask. We'll do it. I'm serious about that. If we need more volunteers for that, we'll figure it out. You guys don't have all the answers. Some of us citizens do.
I agree with the gentleman that just spoke, what he says. I also think that it is necessary to evaluate what resources we have in the here and now in our city, to see what we can do in the real-time effort we're doing as of this evening to help people that are on the street, whether it's opening the doors of our lobby at the WTA and getting a warming bus going overnight for the duration of this emergency weather situation that we're experiencing, get our hot teams that are out during the day to pull overnight shifts so they can do triage out on the streets for those who will not come in off the streets. We have tents out there with trees falling on their tents. We are replacing tents. We are replacing sleeping bags. We have people that are not in shelters right now in different locations throughout our city that need assistance. Yes, we are mobilizing an immense group of people that are coming forward with donations and helping as a community. I am so impressed by our community. I am also impressed with our city leadership to an extent that they are willing to listen to us speak tonight. I'm begging you to please mobilize every resource we have in this city right now to do everything possible to help the people that are not able to find shelter during this winter season. We need warming centers. We need our police department on board, helping with security for those who have behavioral problems that cannot be admitted to the DIC. We need our groups of people who have vehicles that can go around the city safely in this weather to pick up those who are stranded outside in this storm. I am running off of 3 hours a night, and I've been doing this since Sunday of last week, and I'm exhausted, and I'm sitting here shaking and begging you to please help us. We need more help. Our church group that's working with us right now is doing so much, and they are burning the midnight oil. They are going 24/7 without sleep. We need more. We need more than what we have in place right now. So please help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
These people were out there in person being told the same thing and witnessing people being turned away, one after another being turned away from the door that night. And the staff at the mission told us over and over that no, there was no plan to notify Hans, and there was no plan for him to notify the city. There was no emergency backup plan for when the mission is full, which is what we have all been told all of this time, that if it fills up, something will be triggered. No calls were being made. The staff also verified that the mission had in fact been full the night before, and he said, you know, since it was full last night, I'm sure he's doing something about it. Meanwhile, the next day, he reports to the mayor that there were 30 beds open. That was put out by the mayor's office to the public to actually gives the illusion to the public that there's no problem and there's nothing needed to be done. And I just think that's really, really dangerous.
I'm furious. The city doesn't get to wash its hands of this. I've got a van full of people right now out in front. Where would you like me to take them? Where does the action really happen? It all has to happen from volunteers, from our citizens who've already paid their taxes. They have to come in here now and tell you this? Are you kidding me? We were here last year. People were vociferously asking for advocacy. And it didn't happen until spring when we got 4 outhouses and 4 dumpsters. Thanks for signing the extra check to the SSC, which you already had a contract with. That was not effort. That doesn't count. What shall I do with this van load of people when the shelter, who is, or their untrained volunteers, is now looking at, hey, I'm feeling like we're a little uncomfortable here. So they sit in two of our vans and stay warm tonight, maybe. And while we drive around with hot water bottles, hand warmers, blankets, coats, anything we can give these people. I asked you for help. Send me a driver, a van. Nothing. Are you serious? Now, own this shit. I'm out. I got work to do.
Bring him in here. It's the city's hall.
I got a guy with a broken hip in there. He's just got out of, not broken hip, just got out of hip surgery. He's in that van. This is what happens. You're out of the ER. I got him.
The city's house.
I got him.
Thank you. Thank you.
They're not, I know there's people with mental health issues, and that's another whole story because they don't have anywhere to go either. But most of these people are just decent people. A lot of them have jobs. Some of them have kids. What if it was your children? They're human beings and they deserve somebody's respect, and I've never had more people say to me, I haven't had anybody care about me until today, until you asked me how I was doing. And that's happened to me every day that I've been out on the street. Something needs to happen.
Thank you.
It seemed, with all due respect, that there wasn't an organized emergency plan in place to shelter homeless people and deal with other situations.
Promote the general welfare. I've been on the City Hall steps with a sign that says promote the general welfare, the basis and tenet for our Constitution, just one of the few items in the preamble.
It was frustrating, it was angering, it was sad. It seemed very disorganized, and there seemed to be a lack of urgency.
Why the document is written. Not an amendment, but so it's not just a premise, it's a promise. It's been really difficult the last month and a half. I'm part of that citizens outreach team that was out there pulling people off the streets, and I find myself still somewhat shell-shocked from the event.
For Homes Now volunteers to be spending their personal time, money, and take liability to drive around, pick up homeless people. Some 80 people were housed, with all of us contributing dollars in shared motel rooms, restaurants contributing food. Doesn't really seem like the job for an all-volunteer nonprofit to do that.
It's not my job. It is your job. It is our job. We're a government by the people and for the people, and we want help. But it is your job. The buck doesn't stop with the county or anywhere else. It's got to come from the state to the county to the city, and like everything else is supposed to.
Getting the homeless that just didn't seem to want to go to any of the shelters. Couldn't, a lot of them. A lot of them long-term homeless that fell through the cracks a long time ago and just kept spiraling downward.
And I just want to put a face to homelessness that you perhaps haven't seen, and that's me.
And they have all different types of challenges. There is no cookie cutter approach to curing homelessness because each of the ladies there at the church had different challenges. Some people had challenges due to mental illness, some people had substance abuse issues, some people just couldn't get back on their feet after they lost their job or had medical issues, cancer, you name it.
And they were grateful, just like fawning at your feet because they got a hot cup of noodle soup. And it just like blew my mind that's all they wanted is a cup of noodle soup to be warm, you know, and we're talking about doing stuff for millions or thousands of whatever dollars. And
I find it really important that we do that. We've got people on the street who were out there dying, who were really, their lives were in danger, who have jobs. They pay taxes, they voted.
And I have to say that prior to my stay there this year, I had lived a very different life. I was a certified public accountant and had worked and had no real experience or contact with people who are homeless. And after my arrival at the mission, as well as going to the church where I met so many lovely people, I learned that people who are homeless come from all different types of backgrounds.
Thanks to the work of some and thanks to the lack of work for others, I took a place in assisted living, which I only took so I did not have to sleep on the street.
Every single one of those ladies had a different story. And I feel like now that the cold weather is over, so the church program ended, so there are a bunch of ladies at the mission. And the mission is dealing with them as best they can. They have ladies sleeping in the hallway. They have ladies sleeping in all kinds of places in that mission that no one is intended to sleep.
I was in a motorized wheelchair last November, very severely disabled. I've come a long way, and I ended up without a home after hospitalization.
I feel like we're just going to, okay, the cold weather's over, so now we don't have the emergency shelter. We can all just move on because it's going to be lovely and people can sleep outside. But I don't think that's the answer, and I don't know what the answer is, honestly, but there needs to be better trained staff at the places, because I witnessed medical things that could have been emergent, but the staff was not trained to assess. There are all kinds of mental issues that the staff also is not trained to deal with. And I feel like we leave the homeless behind.
Just a very brief statement. Bill Davis died last week. He had a fight in front of the mission or in the mission. It led to outside the mission, and he died. Michael Billings died in a snowbank behind Hagen. He used to live in a house. It was made of cardboard, and it burned down, and then he died in a snowbank. Both of which could have been in the mission, chose not to. Bill does sometimes sometimes stay there, but he was probably shuffled out for fighting, or whatever transpired. It happened because the staff isn't trained well enough, in my opinion.
Is that this is boiling down to whether people are being penalized for actual criminal intent or whether they're being penalized for life-sustaining activities.
And stuff happens. The guy said, Michael, the person who died in the snowbank, we were out during the beginning part of the time we were doing our help in the evening, and we tried to get him into a motel. He refused. He said he'd go to a shelter as long as it wasn't the mission.
And what this winter has shown us recently is that we have municipal codes in our system that are penalizing people for life-sustaining activities. And
in the shelter that I stayed at after that first night. And I said, I will not stay there. I'll sleep on the street.
I think it was that evening that either you or the county were supposed to open something and it didn't. It might have maybe the next day, but he died in the snowbank. Those things could have been prevented, and if those people were rich, the city would be sued, probably, for not providing alternatives to a program that just can't do everybody or keep everybody safe.
There are some activities occurring in our town that put all of our lives at risk of our town burning literally to the ground because they don't have shelter to keep them warm at night. And they are taking the initiative to save their own and preserve their own lives by setting fires. So I don't want to be the sore subject in the room, but this is all boiling down to a class action lawsuit by those who are being injured or experiencing injury to their health, their bodily function, their sustainability as human beings for occupying their own living, breathing space and trying to survive.
So there was a rush and I got into assisted living. It's not where I belong. My husband and I have lived and worked and raised kids and raised grandchildren. We were together here for 40 years. He died. I had to take either his benefits or mine. You cannot rent a home for $870 when you make
because we're successful, we go home, we drive our cars, and we go, after this meeting, we'll all go home, at least those of us who have one, and we forget that there are people who do not.
$878 a month. You have to share with someone. Well, I don't know how to share with 2 or 3 other people. I take care of my family. I cook, I bake. I've worked, I volunteered. I have undergraduate degrees in human services and pastoral care. I have a graduate degree in English and creative writing. I'm a published author. This is the face of homelessness.
Where are their services? Taxation without representation. I can't believe I'm talking about all these things from the 1700s. Let's get with it. That's all I've got to say.
I sure don't want to have to see this happen next year. I would love to see people not fall through all the different cracks in the system when you're having problems like I did. Being able to get some way to come back up before they go down into the maelstrom that just takes them on down. But instead goes upward, hand up. That's what Homes Now is all about. And we're proving it with Winter Haven and Safe Haven. Thank you so much for that, help with that.